The Forced to Flee Mini Film Festival will be held in Durban from today onwards. Well, the festival will create awareness around the stories of forced migration and refugees, and it will also incorporate photography, music and visual art. Well, to tell us more about this, we're now joined from our Durban studio by Yamin Rajah. She's the Director of Refugee Social Services. Yamin, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much again for joining us.
Good morning to you.
Just begin by telling us the objectives of holding the Forced to Flee Mini Film Festival.
We wanted to raise awareness around why refugees are in the country, to create some level of understanding between the host communities and refugees. So as a commemoration for World Refugee Day, which is commemorated globally throughout the world today, we decided that a film festival would be a good way of actually showcasing what refugees can do and the challenges that they face.
And also highlighting, of course, the social issues they're involved. But maybe let's talk a bit more about the medium of film. I know you're incorporating other arts. There is music, craft, discussion, etc. But maybe you can talk to us about the arts industry in general when it comes to highlighting human rights issues and particularly refugee and asylum seekers.
Well, we felt that film is such a powerful medium and it tells stories. One of the things that we wanted to do was also have film in the languages of refugees, and also for the refugees themselves in the community to be able to see that this happens elsewhere and that the challenges they face happen elsewhere as well, but that the successes are happening elsewhere as well. So it's a way it's an easy way of showcasing challenges, successes, and I think it's also, in a sense, entertainment.
Tell us a bit more about some of the films that you showcase.
Okay, we've got, as we've said, it's a mini film festival, so we've chosen four films that we're showcasing. One is called Lifestyle, The Stopover, and it's about, it's set in Greece, and it's about Amir, an Iranian guy that actually houses or helps migrants when they come through Greece to go into Europe, and offers them a refuge. The other one is a movie called Illegal, and it's about a mother and a son that are illegally in Belgium, and mom gets is detained, and the separation and the challenges that come with that. And then we're also showcasing Harbour of Hope, which is a movie about Jewish refugees that were given refuge in Sweden, and the stories around that. There's some mystery around it, and it's a very, very loving, hopeful movie. And then we've got Man on Ground, which is set in South Africa during the time of xenophobia. It's about two Nigerian brothers, and they're meeting again, and the difference in their lifestyles.
Let's talk about logistics now, the costs involved to come and view some of the films. Where can one go to view them? At what time? Where do we get tickets? Just give us that information.
All right. The good news is it's all free. There's no charge involved in any of these movies. We wanted to make it accessible to everybody. The first movie is being shown today at the Diakonia Center, where our offices are based, at 11 o'clock. And then there's movies that will be shown on Monday in Pietermaritzburg at the Project Gateway at 11 o'clock as well. At the Alliance Francaise on Monday at 6 o'clock in the evening. At the Holocaust Center on Tuesday at 7 o'clock in the evening. And then on Wednesday and Thursday at 1 o'clock at Archie's Cafe at Diakonia Center. So any of those movies are available for anybody to come, and there's no costs involved.
Gratis mahala. I think South Africans like that. It's music to our ears. But tell us a bit about the target market. Who would you like to see come through and watch some of these films?
I would like South Africans to come through, but more than that, I'd also like our refugee community to come through, and migrants, whoever. We're open to all. We want everybody to understand each other, and I think the medium of film allows us to understand each other. When you come to these functions, you get a chance to meet refugees and migrants, and I think once you sort of connect with people, you'd be able to understand why they're here, what they're doing, and so everybody, all's welcome. All colours, all creeds, all cultures.
Yeah. That's fantastic, and I hope that really does come to pass, because one of my concerns is that in the upper echelons of society, your middle to higher class South Africa, there's not a lot of xenophobia when it comes to that, because they have all the resources that they need. But when it comes to perhaps those who are not earning as much, who are having to share public health facilities, education facilities, share jobs, that there is where you find a lot of perhaps xenophobia. And maybe I'm generalizing here, but have you done enough to actually go to grassroots level to try and promote this mini film festival so that they too can have some sort of discussion or some sort of coming together to actually see where these people are coming from and why they're in the country?
Well, I hope we have. One of the screenings that we're having waiting room screenings as well, which are open to everybody. The centre that we're in is open to people that have challenges, there's social services organizations and stuff in it. So the way we've actually done the film festival is to try and make it as accessible as possible to people from all echelons, as you've called it. We've even got a screening happening at the Department of Home Affairs, a free screening. That's not really open to the public, but the people that actually go there to get their documents will be able to actually view movies. So I'm hoping we've done a lot of awareness amongst the communities. We're a very community-based organization. We've got people working all around in all of the most of the communities, most of the areas in Durban. So I'm hoping that the organizations that we connect with would have told their clients to actually come.
We'll speak a bit more.
Let's hope this.
Yes. Please carry on. My apologies for interrupting.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Let's hope that this broadcast would also get it out to people.
Oh, that's a shared hope indeed. And we'll speak about your role as the Refugee Social Services and what you do in just a moment. But for those of us, myself included, who are not able to go to KZN to actually see some of the films being shown, let's give you a clip now of the one that's shown in South Africa, or at least created in South Africa. It's a film called Ground, and just a snippet so you can just get a sense or a taste of what's happening. In fact, I'm being told in my ear right now that we are going to perhaps try and get Ground a little bit later, but let's turn our attention to the movie called Illegal now, which is also just as heart-wrenching and groundbreaking. Let's take a look at that.
Je veux avoir vos papiers, s'il vous plaît. Date de naissance et pays d'origine, s'il vous plaît. Bon, je suppose que le nom sur votre carte de mutuelle, là, ça moque je sais pas quoi. C'était un faux. J'espère qu'il n'y a pas de famille qui vous attend dehors. Parce que je vous le rappelle, vous risquez jusqu'à 2 ans de prison.
Non, Van! Vania, nic mi nie słyszysz. Vania, nic mi nie słyszysz. Nie zapyszaj.
On sait que vous venez de l'Est, que vous êtes probablement un fils. On est déjà en train de vous rechercher dans le fichier.
Ils vont t'expulser. Je ne sais pas.
Moi, je suis avocat. Dans le cas précis, il n'y a aucune chance.
Mais il y a toujours une chance. Faites votre boulot. Ils vont pas t'expulser. Ils vont juste essayer. Comme vous le savez, les nouvelles sont pas très bonnes. Van, il y a des bien au-dessus de nous.
very difficult to watch that, very hard to watch it without having some sort of a sense of empathy towards that, putting yourself in their shoes and just seeing how you would like to be treated in a foreign country. But let's carry on with this discussion now. We've just seen the scenes of the film Illegal. I want to speak to you now, if I may, Yasmin, about your role broader, outside of the actual mini film festival. Your role as the Refugee Social Services. Tell us a bit about your work.
Okay, Refugee Social Services is, as it says, a social services organization, and we're working with refugees and asylum seekers that are in Durban, Pietermaritzburg, and some that come from other parts of the province. We're a UNHCR implementing partner. Basically, that means that we've been mandated to actually help refugees and asylum seekers to settle in to the country, do the trauma counseling, do some little bits of material assistance, assist them to get going in the country, to integrate. We provide language services. We do referrals to health organizations, education. We've got a few income generating projects. So it's a wide variety of services that we actually offer to the communities of refugees and asylum seekers.
What are some of the stories that you hear from these refugees and asylum seekers? Maybe some common stories that they share about their experiences coming to South Africa, or maybe some unique stories?
I think the common story is, and something that I'd like to actually highlight, is that when people come into the country, they come not out of choice. That refugees and asylum seekers have actually fled some level of trauma in their own country. And because of this, they don't prepare themselves necessarily to come here. So when they come here, you find that a lot of them, the people that we've been seeing recently, for instance, the women from the Eastern DRC, we hear on the news stories of the rape in the Eastern DRC. We're seeing them here in South Africa. These are young women that have come, that have been raped, that have lost everything, and they're here looking for refuge. Those are some of the common stories. We've seen people that are well educated, that had good lives at home, that actually come to South Africa and have had to leave everything behind. So those are some of the common stories that we're seeing. The unique stories, nothing comes to mind immediately. I think I'm a little nervous. So, yeah.
I can understand. And before we take a look at the film called Ground, perhaps you can tell us the general sentiment among the refugees and asylum seekers. Do they feel that they've jumped out of the fire pan and into the flames when they come to South Africa, or do they get a general sense of relief when they get here?
I think it's a mixed reaction. You come into a country where you're looking for refuge. You think that things might be a lot better, but it's like anywhere else where you're starting off all over again. Most times, a lot of the people we deal with don't speak the language, and that's a big barrier. When you don't speak a language, regardless of your education or what you can do, you'll find that people don't look at, not all people, but a lot of people don't look at you with sympathy. They've got other perceptions about why you're here, and they think sometimes that you're not so intelligent and that you can't actually contribute, but that's not the case. So sometimes little things also impact on the people that we actually work with. They feel upset when they're called kwere kwere. They feel upset when they're dealt with in a particular way because they can't. And I think a lot of times it's because they can't speak the language, not necessarily because they look different, but because they can't speak the language, and immediately somebody sees that they're not from here. On the other hand, a lot of them have said that there've been many South Africans that have offered refuge, that have helped them out. So, yeah, it's a mixed bag.
Well, let's take a look at that movie now that was set in South Africa, just elaborating on what Yasmin has had to say. The movie is called Ground.
No, it's called Man on Ground.
Babula wasadi bodu Yeboledu kukure Yebu yebu Bobambo babu kuku Mwende babembang Nena mawone bolanturu Inyo endane ni kumbanyu nyewolo Nina mawone bolantu nyolanyu Ajon la jango kwa la Nimbo wapenya Osoma le binyo masoma Ikila majo Lo ula wasadi bodu Yevoledu kukure Yevu yevu.
And that film called Man on Ground. And thank you so much, Yamin, for that correction. Just detailing some of the traumas, I believe, following the xenophobic violence that we experienced heavily, I think, in 2008. But we have seen sporadic incidents since then, as recently as this year as well. Yamin, perhaps you can speak to us about the ripple effect of what happened back in 2008. Have we fully recovered?
I'm not sure. I think the community feels, there's still the residue of trauma. I think people have come, when people come into the country, they've been traumatized. And when you have this sort of xenophobia, there's always this paranoia that things are going to get worse. And sometimes some of the policies don't help with that. And people are always looking for something that will make them feel safe. I don't know if we've completely recovered. I hope so.
And lastly, before we go, Yamin, perhaps you can just give a word of advice. If you were speaking to the government and to South Africans at large, I think, what word of advice or perhaps caution or congratulations or whatever it is that you would like to share with us that we could maybe even do better this World Refugee Day?
I think if we could treat everybody as we would want to be treated ourselves, so that nobody is the other, that we all are treated as human beings. I think if we just put ourselves in the shoes of each other, it's one message that we need to completely remember, that this might happen. We might be forced to flee one day. Who knows? It's happened before in this country. So just to treat people with humanity and dignity, and I think we'll be on our way to a more peaceful world.
Thank you so much again for your time. I think very profound words there. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Yamin Rajah, Director of Refugee Social Services, speaking to us about that mini film festival that will be highlighting the plights of refugees and asylum seekers. That mini film festival taking place in Durban as of today.